Before we begin, the thoughts, views, and opinions that you may hear on this episode are just that: thoughts, views, and opinions coming from myself and my guest. So if you get offended by them, disagree with them, or just simply don't like them, well, there's a simple solution to all of that, and that's just stop listening. But if you're eager to hear the conversation, then just sit back and enjoy the show. Yeah, that. Welcome back to another episode of the Yeah That podcast, hosted by yours truly, West Coast Roberto. I'm excited about this episode right here. I have a very special guest, Miss Ronnie Angelique Young, an entrepreneur, motivational coach, transgender woman, and we discuss, we actually got to know Ronnie and what her life was like growing up, her coming out as gay and then realizing that she wanted to transition into a woman. We also discuss her entrepreneurship and then what drove her to become a motivational coach and entertainer, etc., etc. So get to know Ronnie Angelique Young in this episode. It was very fun. She drops a lot of gems for you to sit down and actually think about situations, and that'll help you in regards to, thinking about things in life's and current situations. So sit back, you'll enjoy this episode. I know I had fun talking to Angelique, had a good time. But before we go to this one, to recap the last one, episode 29, I had my brother on. My brother Gonchi, he went on, and it's always a good time when Gonchi's on. He explained tokusatsu art, which is the Japanese animation art of like Godzilla, Super Sentai, etc., etc. We had a good time on that one. If you haven't seen that one, check it out. Episode 29 on YouTube. Watch the visual on YouTube, or you can listen to it on any podcast platform, or this current one that you're listening to this episode on. But tune in to today's episode with Ronnie Angelique Young, and I will catch y'all on the back end. Yeah, that. Welcome back to another episode of the Yeah That podcast, hosted by yours truly, West Coast Robbie. And today's guest, I'm very excited for. The guest is a motivator, an entrepreneur, inspirational, just all the checks in the box. And I will allow them to introduce themselves without further ado. Please, if you may, Ronnie, introduce yourself to the
Yes.
viewers.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ronnie Angelique, and I am a 34-year-old. Well, no, I used to be 34. I'm 35 now. Wow. I'm a 35-year-old trans woman who is in network marketing and also performs in shows and does a bunch of different things. And I'm just basically a widespread entrepreneur. But I get my biggest part and happiness in life from motivating and helping other men and women just find peace with themselves and pursue their passions.
Awesome. And before we get and dive into your endeavors, I like to get to know my guests personally, like where you're from, like what it was like growing up, etc., etc.
Okay, well, I was born and raised in the Bronx, New York, and I am the third. Well, no, I'm like I have three older brothers. I have two younger siblings that are step siblings, but I love them just the same.
Of course.
So I come from a huge family, and I had a very good childhood. I can't complain about it at all. I was very blessed and very lucky on all sides. I'm half Hispanic and half Black. So
Okay.
I grew up with a very well-rounded family. Literally, we go all the way from pasty white all the way to black as night. So my family's a very widespread like color like field. So I was really blessed. I didn't even experience racism or anything like that growing up in New York and growing up in upstate New York or like Pennsylvania. My family moved around a lot. But I didn't even experience any kind of like racism or any kind of negativity towards the kind of person that I was until I was like well into like middle school or something like that. And I had an incident where I was called the N word, and it wasn't even by kids; it was by grown people at a ice cream shop one time because I lived in the Poconos at the time, and it was just a shell shock situation to me, and I didn't know how to handle it. I had heard, we read books, we watch TV shows, and you don't really know about it, but it really changed my perspective on life because I was kind of like, oh, I need to like be in a position to educate people why that's not okay, and I need to be in a position to
Yeah.
educate people why we shouldn't judge books by their cover and we don't know anything. And I'm like, for this white person to call me the N word, and I'm like, you don't even know, like I'm part white. I was like, I don't get it, I don't get it. I was like, it don't make no sense to me. I was like, there's a part of me where like, my lineage is the same as yours, and because I was
Yeah.
raised that way, I really didn't see it. So that started me on my kind of journey to kind of educate people, and then being a positive force in people's lives. They always say like, you want to be the change that you want to see in the world. So
Right.
I've always been that person in situations where I probably could have went left. I've always stood my
Mhm.
ground and like held true to like my beliefs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I mean, outside of that, I have a bachelor's in graphic design. I have a master's in psychology. I spent a lot of time as a life coach helping and assisting a lot of people, and now I'm in network marketing, being a mentor to women who are trying to be an entrepreneur in the business world as well as men.
Nice, nice. So, how did
And I
that
gave
just
you a
come
lot to
about?
work with.
No, I'm trying to break it down. So, when they came at you with the N word, like, how did that come about? Like, bad service or something on your part, or what?
No, I was literally I just graduated the 8th grade, and I was at an ice cream shop with my family, and I just couldn't decide on what I wanted, and I was taking a little too long in line, I guess, for them, and so
Wow.
I actually stepped out of line and let them go so that they
Yeah.
could pick while I still decided. And as they got their food and they got into their car, while I had already ordered, like I had already did what I had came to do, like it wasn't
Hmm.
nothing. And they just decided to get in the car and was like, next time make up your mind, you effing N word. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh. And I was like, who are they talking to? Like, I was looking for the adult, but I was the only person of color around. And my
Yeah.
mom and my dad were in the car waiting. Like everybody was kind of like chilling out. Like we weren't gonna stay there and eat. So it wasn't like a big deal. But my mom heard it. And literally, like my dad got out the car to like come to like be with me. And my mom like jetted off and chased him down the road. My mom's a beast. I love her. She's that New Yorker side of her never leaves her at any point in time.
What type of Hispanic? Puerto Rican,
Oh
Dominican?
yes, yes. Well, my mom's family lineage comes directly from Puerto Rico itself.
Oh,
Like,
okay, and
and so
that explains
her yeah. So she's like really fired up, yeah. And she's also partial like Irish Italian.
Uh,
So like
oh,
she's just
okay.
literally fire. There's
Oh
not a
yeah.
point where there's not fire. It's just all 100% all the time. And I love her for it.
Oh, that is crazy that they would say that to a kid or an adolescent.
Yeah, it
That's
was. It was
insane.
mind blowing. I think
That's insane.
everybody, and it was like a full service place. Everybody there was kind of like gasp, shock, awe. Like nobody knew how to respond. I had other
Yeah.
people's parents like asking me if I was okay, and I was like, "Yeah, I think." I was like checking myself. I'm like, I don't think I got hit by that one, but I don't really know. It took a while for it to like settle in and for me to kind of like adjust that, like in my head as a young kid, to kind
Right.
of be like, "Oh snap!" Like there's people in the world out there who literally are going to like attack you just for being you.
Right. So you were
So,
13 ish.
no, I was younger. I was probably
Okay.
like I graduated I graduated high school when I was 16. So
Oh, okay.
um so yeah, so I was probably like 12 or I hadn't turned 13. I'm a late bloomer. I'm a Sagittarius. So I'm at the end of the
Yeah.
year, end of the
Okay.
month,
Yeah.
like I'm literally like the last person on the in the room to get their award, like always. So yeah, no, I probably hadn't even turned 12 yet or something like that to that effect.
Ah, that's crazy. Yeah, I was wondering. I seen your pictures. And I was like, I know she's mixed because
Yeah.
I'm mixed. I'm mixed, but people you look at me and it's like, oh, it's just a black guy. But I'm mixed with Filipino,
It
and
depends on where you go. I swear to
I
God, like I
know,
go
I
and I
know.
travel all over the world. So like I go to places and there's people like anywhere that's a Spanish city, they automatically I go to Cuba and everybody always just assumes I'm Cuban. If I go to like the Dominican Republic, they all assume I'm Dominican. Like anytime I'm in an area, like they all ask me. I went to Canada and people that's the first time people have to stop and ask me like, "Wait, what are you?" Because they're like, "Are you Nigerian? Are you this? Are you that?" And I'm like, "No, I'm none of that. I'm as plain as vanilla and chocolate ice cream. Like it's not complicated at all. Like it's just those two things. That's it, really. I mean, if you get into like genealogy and stuff, yes, I'm a lot of things, but my
Yeah,
basic hardcore two are just black and Spanish. Like it
right.
doesn't get any different than that.
Oh, I'm the same. I'm the same. I tell people the same thing. I'm black and Filipino. My mother is half Hispan or half Spaniard and half Filipino. But it's just when people ask me like, "Oh, Are you mixed? I'm like, yeah, my mom's Filipino, but it's crazy because I experienced a similar situation to you at around a similar age because I'm from California, and I
Mm.
grew up in that Hispanic culture. So my girlfriend at the time, she was Mexican, but she looked like a white girl, and we're walking down the street and holding hands, and then behind us a car passed by, and then all you hear is, "What the fuck are you doing with the N word, B?" And then it drove away, and I was just like, "Wow, like we're teenagers. Like, come on,
Like, that's crazy. Like, who gives you the right to
crazy."
have your opinion so vocalized, or
I
like you
know.
think you need it to be so like relevant? That's crazy. And I can't imagine what
Yeah.
that felt like for both of you because it's kind of like just getting shot out in the wild. Like, I didn't do nothing. I'm sitting here enjoying my life, and
Right.
you just got to come dump your opinion on me. I
Yeah.
can't imagine what that must have been like for the two of you.
Yeah. I mean, my girlfriend at the time, she was just like, "Did they say what I think they said?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's all right, whatever." And we just kept it moving, and that was the end of that. So for you though, you said that that made you want to start your positivity. The
Yeah.
so what did you do in to start that process?
Well, to be honest, I was young. I was like I said, I was like 11 or 12. And so
Hmm.
the first thing I did is what any other normal human being would do. I went home and I cried because I was
Oh,
like,
yeah, it's fine.
that's a lot for a kid to handle.
Right.
And then I just kind of sat with my mom and we talked about it. And my mom, having grown up um in a time where she actually had to hide her being Hispanic because of her father. So she grew up in the Irish part of New York in the Bronx. And even though it was
Okay.
like Spanish Irish, like she's white passing. My whole family is white passing on her side. So a lot of
Right.
times people see them and will think they're either Italian or think that they're like Irish or think that they're something like that. They don't necessarily see them and go, oh, they're Hispanic.
Hmm.
So they grew up like not learning Spanish. They grew up not being like that. And she said sometimes in society, like when you're in that situation, she's like, just remember that their words don't have any power over you. And she's like, but you get to control how you react. What you
Right.
do is the most important thing. So she's like, you could have gotten mad and thrown something or did something, but that could have put you in even more danger, or endangered the people around you. She's like, you
Yeah.
have to really think about your situation because everything you do has a reaction and an equal, or has an action that has an equal reaction or whatever.
Yeah.
So at that point, I kind of lived around a lot of different people and I had to evaluate. Like, me and my brothers were the only people of color in our school. There was only two black
Oh.
families when we moved there, and we were one,
Wow.
and we were three out of the majority. So, like,
Yeah.
we literally had this whole situation where I went to my friends and I just sat down and was like, I need you guys to understand, like, this is something that I struggle with. I don't want to be your friend if you don't understand what that word means. I don't want to be your friend if you
Right.
don't understand like what it means to be treated unfairly or to be treated mean or something like that. And
Right.
up until that point, really, I hadn't experienced it, but I made it a point to like separate my friends at that point. I was like, if you're not for me, or if you're like rolling with like that kind of ideology that like because I'm different or I'm smart or I'm educated or whatever, that I get the free pass, then I don't want to be your friend. And I made it
Right.
really clear. I was really blessed once again to be in a school that was actually really understanding, and we had a lot of staff that was really good about that, and it wasn't like a major issue. But I made it a point to join every single curricular I could to help out and to help people understand. And we had a really good like a culture of black people in our school by the time I
Hmm.
was in high school. So like at that point I'm like, oh, this is fine. Like we just kept pushing the mission to like just help people understand that like that's not accepted. We don't, we can name call it, but it's like playing the dirty dozen, right? You can't say
Right.
your mama. Like you gotta like you can't say that word. Like I don't care how bad I hurt your feelings or how bad like we get at each other. Neither one of us can do that. And it was at the height of a time where like I only graduated in '04. So
Okay.
it was like at the height of a time where rap culture was really big. But the funniest thing, as I say now, is that like back then, we really didn't have a lot of our artists dropping the N word like that. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like you heard it all the time. And the radio was so good about like editing music. Like
Yeah.
I can honestly say that none of my friends were running around using the lyrics of a song as an excuse. None of my friends were running around using they're cool with the kids on the basketball team as an excuse to drop that word. We just didn't use it. And
Right.
so like it's really funny like as you go into other places or other cities and other countries and you start to realize like how people react or use things. And even now, like this is like what we're almost 20 years later, 18 years later, I'm sitting here and I have the issue where like it's literally something. I don't know if you watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but they did the
Duh.
remake and in the no, I mean with the remake, in the
Yeah,
first
the newest one.
episode, out the gate, it's an issue that they attack.
Yeah.
They literally go headstrong for it, and you see this on both sides, and it really made me have to reevaluate once again. I was like, am I that person? I was like, do I let my friends say it because I know they don't mean it out of harm, or do I let my
Right.
friends say it because like I was like, should nobody be saying this word? Should it not even be a topic? Like
Yeah.
even now as an adult, I have these moments where I have to reevaluate how I address that word because I realize that my silence could really be a motivator for people to do things that could harm other people in the area. Just because it doesn't bother me doesn't mean that it's not bothering somebody else or it doesn't offend somebody else, right?
Right. Right.
So, food
Most
for thought, I
definitely.
guess.
No, most definitely. I agree completely. I graduated in '03, but I'm 2 years older than you, so I guess because you're a late bloomer. So everything
Yeah.
everything you talked about, I understand completely. And we'll go back to that the
Okay.
the society thing because I know in regards to that the N word and how it is in society. I want to like kind of cover being trans as well because I know it's along the similar basis because of how it's kind of like a taboo gray area, but we'll get there. I'm just,
Yeah.
we got to
No,
educate some
no, it's
people.
yeah, we could do it. Sorry, we went there to the other side because that's like my first experience, and it does tie
No,
into
no,
it.
yeah, yeah.
It played a major part in that part of my journey for sure.
Okay. So, what was your childhood? What were you like as a child, like or growing up around like adolescence and stuff?
I mean, for me, I was a lucky kid once again. Like my family never I never had the societal norms of male and female put upon me. I was the third
Hmm.
of my mom's like natural kids.
Okay.
My oldest brother is a half brother, and so when I was born, I think everybody just was like, "What we're not gonna do is stick to this this pattern that we've developed with the first three." So I was the first one to be um, surrounded by women. I knew how to cook and clean by the time I was 8. I could, take care of myself and my brothers by that point in time. At that point, I was
Hmm.
taking care of people twice my age, making sure that everybody was good to go. Like I could really run the house by myself by the time I was 10. So I had this upbringing that just was super different from that. I didn't do sports. I didn't do anything like that. I stayed with all the other side of things. So I just really experienced life on a different path than anyone around me. And I was
Hmm.
always encouraged to do whatever made me happy. I was always
Of
encouraged to
course.
be the better
Good.
side of me. I was the perfect example of if you give a child the opportunity to like drink early, they're not going to think it's like something they want to do later on in life. Like I went to France when I was 13 and I spent 2 weeks there and I got to drink wine and stuff. And I came home and I was like, I am not going to be an alcoholic. I don't like that. I don't like the way it tastes. I don't want anything. And now I don't have an issue when it comes to drinking. It's something that like I do it when I want to, if I feel like it's necessary, but I don't need to have like a bottle in my house. I don't come home every night and drink, not wine, not alcohol, not anything. Like it's something that I don't feel is a necessity in my life, but there's other siblings that I have that they can't literally go on without having their personal little thing because they were constantly under the thumb being told not to do something. So I
Mm,
definitely I think I got lucky out of my siblings because they just kind of wanted to see where I would end up or what would happen to me. Um, so I was really blessed with that. I had great upbringing with like schools and stuff like that. I was in the hood. I got into one fight. I was very much like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I literally got into one fight on the playground when I was in the 5th grade, and my mom was like, "Yoink, you're out of there. We're not leaving you in New York anymore. I'm taking you back to Pennsylvania." Like it was very that. So I've always had like not necessarily a sheltered life, but I've been like given like you can do anything but that. Like even in this
right.
school, like don't be fighting, don't cuss people out. Like always be the better person. It doesn't matter what they do. Like, just always make sure that you don't get in more trouble than them. Like,
Oh,
you
that's
can say
good.
what you want, but don't get in trouble, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but my childhood was great. Like, I got to be flamboyant. I was dressing. I had Barbies. I was a Disney fanatic. So I had every Disney doll you could think of, every toy. I was also like I was allowed to just express myself however I wanted.
That's
And I
good.
think that helped me out later in life a lot for sure.
That's good. And your dad didn't have any reservations or anything about the Barbies and being flamboyant or anything like that.
No, God, no. If
Good. That's
anything, he
good.
encouraged me to just have fun. He was like, it doesn't.
Yeah.
He's like, the doll is like, I'm not. I'm not pretending to be the doll. I just like playing with them. I preferred them over
Yeah.
action figures. Personally, for me, it was a size thing. I didn't like that the action figures were so
We're
tiny,
teeny.
and I wanted to like be able to put them up and like post them and like have like table talk. I was like, I didn't have little mini furniture for the action figures. So I was like, no, I want to like Barbie had everything. I was like, she had the full car, everything. I was like, this is perfect. I was like, it just was more fun to me. Um, the funniest thing about it is that like once I became a teenager, I could care less about dolls. I got into like collecting action figures. I'm a huge nerd. I'm a Marvel nerd.
Yeah, yeah.
So like
That's
that was like
me
me and my
too.
mom's thing. We literally
Nice.
would go to like we would go to like comic book shops, and we would
Yeah.
either get like X-Men comics together, or we would get the new action figures when they would release. Like we each had our own favorites, and that was like our thing. So I quickly
That's
changed my
cool.
whole idea on things. um when I was going through school, like I was a swimmer in high school, and then I did cheerleading. I came out when I was technically in the 10th grade. I came out as bisexual, as most gay people do. You know, you put your
Yeah.
toe in the water and you figure out what you like, if you do like
Right.
it or not. And I always was the kind of person who was like, I want to make sure I don't like something before I say I don't like it. So
Right.
like I dated girls first and foremost, and I still love women. I think women are everything. I just don't like relationships with women. I think that relationships with men have been just better for me.
Hmm.
Like relationships with women in general are great, but like a boyfriend, I've
Right.
always had better luck, or it's always just been a better vibe. It
Like
seems to mesh
romantic.
better. Yeah, in a romantic
Yeah.
sense, yeah. But platonic women are all like I'm surrounded by women
Yeah.
constantly. Um, but I did that first, and then when I put my toe in the water, I dabbled for the year, and I tried to figure out where my feelings were. And when I came home, uh, I spent my sophomore year in Florida. Actually, I went to a magnet school here called Thomas Jefferson, which I loved. But I came back here my junior year so that or home my junior year so that I could be with my family and graduate with them. And that year, I just was like, fuck it, I'm gay. I was like, let's just say it. Let's just see what happens. I was like,
Yeah.
push come shove. I spend a year avoiding people and I graduate and I never have to see these people again. I was like, because the truth is, I
Yeah.
was like, I knew I wasn't going to be in that town. I knew I wasn't going to have to deal with it. So I just kind of jumped out of that. And I got really good responses from the people in my school. Like my fellow student body like loved me as a person. So who
Of
I slept with
course.
didn't
Yeah.
matter. And it was like really great. I was the first person to have a male date to prom my senior year ever in
Yeah.
the school's history. So that was really cool too, to break that barrier and to have that
Nice.
as a stepping point for me.
Nice.
All of this time though, I just didn't. Sorry, my dog. Hold on, let me.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Because I was like, he's gonna bark a little bit because I think somebody just got, or people drive by or whatever.
It's okay.
But no, but yeah. So like, I just had this like, I had the idea in my head that like I wished I could have been a woman. I was allowed to be as effeminate as I wanted. I was a cheerleader at the time. I was like,
Yeah.
in my head, I was like, I couldn't be gayer. I was like, you can't go any more down this Kinsey scale than this, right? So I mean, outside of that, it was just something that I had always thought about, but never saw it in action. I never met anybody. You only see it on TV, and the
Yeah.
depiction of it on TV is either something comical or something disastrous.
Right.
So I was like, I didn't have a good idea of what it meant to be a trans person, or if how that even started out. When I went to school, college, I did psychology as my minor. And I really was like, oh, this is cool. And I learned about it and I learned about the process. But even then, even the old textbooks and the old information that was out there, it was
Outdated.
very misleading. It was very inaccurate. It wasn't
Yeah.
like things had changed over so much that if that's all you have, once again, to base your knowledge off of, you really don't see it as a possibility. Like they made it seem impossible. They made it seem like transitioning was the hardest thing to do in the world. They put you through the ringer for years on years and made it like so tough for you to do it just to make sure you didn't do it for no reason,
Right.
which I get because changing your gender is a lot. It is a lot. It's a whole lot. But it was just one of those things that like as I was in college, I started to meet people and I started to get into the gay scene or whatever and like see like that lifestyle and started to see that it was
Hmm.
possible. But I always told myself like I'm not gonna jump down this rabbit hole unless I know for sure I can get where I want to go. I want to know that I'm gonna be the person I want to be. I want to know that I'm gonna end up looking and feeling the way that makes me happy. And
Yeah.
it took me a long time. So I went to college when I was 19 and I graduated when I was 22. And then I spent the next 3 or 4 years trying to figure out how to make this happen. who do I have to go to? Who I have to see? There's like no resources in any state that I was in. You can't get help in New York, can't get help in Pennsylvania. Um, so I was just kind of like out of options by the time I was 25. And I really thought like I had been through a lot of shit. I had
Yeah.
went through a really horrible relationship. I had went through a suicide. I had went through
Oh
a
wow.
suicide attempt. I had went
Oh
through
man.
uh, being homeless twice at this point in my life. I was like, at 25, I really sat down and I was like, I didn't expect to make it to 25. I didn't expect to live past 25. I was
Yeah.
like, I had to reevaluate everything and be like, what am I missing from my life? I remember towards the end of my stint living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I was working for the school that I graduated from. I had just bought a new car. I had a fire apartment, a little like, solo bachelor pad or whatever. And I was miserable. I was
Hmm.
absolutely miserable. And I just remember calling my mom and being like, I don't know what to do. Like, this is what I've spent the past 10, 15 years working towards, and I have it and it's not worth any of it.
Yeah.
I would give it all up in a day if I could have a moment of happiness because I literally was just miserable. And she was like, if there's nothing there for you, pack it up, come home, or you can move somewhere else. She was like, go change your scenery and hopefully that'll help you. She said this analogy that I love and I still use. It's, a plant, when they outgrow their base, you have to change it. You have to put them in a bigger pot with new dirt and new soil and new water, and you have to
Yeah.
really give them a chance to really spread their roots and grow. And so that
Dang.
was her best advice to me. And I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? That's what I'm going to do. So I ended up moving down here to Florida, and the craziest thing happened. Like, I literally bloomed like crazy. Like, I ran into a crowd of people who had all the answers, like as if they had been waiting for me my whole life to just show up at the door to like any objection I could possibly give to them. They were like, "Nope, you're gonna do this. Nope, they do this for free. Nope, this is that. Go do that." So
Nice.
I chicken shitted on it for a while, and it wasn't until my 30th birthday, I had once again just gone through like another bad relationship where when I met the person, they knew that I was transitioning or knew that I wanted to transition, and I
Hmm.
was like starting the process of living my life on a daily basis, and they just they made me feel kind of content, and they didn't question or challenge me and my transition. They just kind of let me come and go as I pleased. And I got comfortable. And I remember right before we broke up, they came to me and they said, I'm really attracted to you as a woman. If you wanted to continue doing that, I support you. Like, I don't want you to stay, a guy because you don't, you feel you have to for me. Like,
Right.
that was the craziest thing. And it like blew my mind. And I was like, it's not about you really. It's just I don't have the I don't have the tools yet. They're not like I don't have them yet. I can't do it just yet. So I was like, I'm gonna do it. It's just I'm not in a rush. I don't need it to be right now. I don't need to have like my whole body transformed. I don't need to have everything. I just need to find out what makes me happy in this life. And
Right.
so we ended up breaking up, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me because once again, here we go, slingshot, and I get to be this awesome person. I ran into another set of people, and they literally like stopped me in my tracks, pretty much verbally bitch slapped me, and then sent me to their doctor and was like, "Go get the help you need and go start. You've been on and off doing this since we've known you. Like, just go get it started."
Yeah.
So I did that, and it was crazy because I only did that 5 years ago. It wasn't like I did that like
Oh
a whole
wow.
long time ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
I only started my transition back in 2017, 2017. So it was like a crazy like upheaval in my life, but it was the best thing that ever happened. I remember thinking to myself, like, I don't know how this is gonna go. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be pretty. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna have a body. I was like, I don't know if anything's gonna work, right? You think about all these things, but I just had to do it. So I jumped in and it was like that. I thought it was gonna take me forever to like find my comfort zone and stuff, but like everything just the second you do something that's meant for you, everything moves in that direction. It was like I
Yeah.
felt like I had been going upstream my whole life up until the moment I just jumped in and was like, let me go all in on my future and my real passion, like my real life of being a woman. Like, I want to be a woman from head to toe. Let me just jump in. And it was like everything happened like that. I
Nice.
got a job. It wasn't like it was hard for me to work. It was like I'm
Nice.
lucky to be on
Nice.
a scale of something called passable. So when I'm out in the street, a lot of people don't clock me. They're not looking to be like, oh, that's a dude or like whatever. I had
Yeah.
my moments when I started my transition, but at this point in time, I'm very comfortable with my body, and I've been on hormones for like 4 years now, so it's been really great to watch the transition of my body and watch how everything has kind of just molded itself and accepted it naturally. Like I didn't have to do anything crazy. Like I will be the I've never had any work done on my face. I've never had
Okay, that's
anything
good.
done anywhere else. Yeah, I'm natural outside of the wig that's on my head. Like that's it. Like it's not like a thing that I went and I had to do to make it happen. I did get a BBL. That was the first and only surgery I ever got because as a gymnast and a swimmer, I have a gymnast body, and I was like, I want some
Yeah,
hips, like just a little bit. I just want a little bit of Coke bottle. But I was very smart about it. I've always done my procedures or like how I reach out to doctors. I'm everything's on the book. I never did anything. There's a lot of misconception about the trans world and having to get your assistance with your surgeries or your medications or your therapy
yeah,
under the table or in the back office or hotel motel rooms. If anybody's watched Pose, they've seen this reenacted in certain aspects. It's something that is not a lie, but it's not the only way. Like there are ways to get everything you want in certain states and places for
yeah.
free. And there's ways to get
Wow.
it with, you know, with actual assistance and actual help. So for me, that's been the biggest motivator for me. Like in my transition is I've had my shout out to 26 Health in Orlando, Florida. They've taken
Okay,
care of me since I've started. They used to be Two
nice.
Spirit Health, now they're 26 Health. They've always provided me with my therapy sessions, my both for my transition and as well as just a regular therapist. And then they've done all of my work for my medication, everything to keep me on the books and keep me healthy and well. And then as far as like other assistance, some states like Pennsylvania, after I left, of course, they have a whole department that they literally, if you go and you see them and you use them for their services, they'll pay for all of your surgeries. Any surgery you get approved
Wow.
for, they'll pay for everything, like the full bill. California is the same way. There, if you're in their state and you're under their government, you can literally, if you're approved for it, you can get your any of your surgeries done. So it's like really awesome to see over time. Like a lot of people have these options, and they weren't available when I started, but they're available
Right.
now. So it's really cool.
That's very cool, actually. That's very cool. And I know, so you're born in the '80s. You're a product of the '90s, just like I am. I know you said you came out in when you were in 10th grade. Did you have to deal with a lot of adversities when you first came out as bi or whatever?
No, I did not, but there was a young man in my class who did. He was gay, he was very out and about it,
Yeah.
and he was very flamboyant. And I watched his ridicule and I watched his shame and what he went through. But I never saw him ever one day come to school and stop being himself. And
Good.
so
Good.
on my journey, I kind of look back to things like that where I'm like, I'm not meant for everybody. I'm not meant for everybody to love me. I'm not meant for everybody to like me. I'm not meant to be
Yeah.
everybody's favorite. That's not why I was put here, you know, but my life is mine and I have to live it for me. So I have to put myself first. That was the hardest thing for me to do in my transition because the biggest thing that held me back from transitioning was what I thought my family was going to react to my transition.
Yeah.
I like it was like so funny. It was like every time I felt like a Russian egg. Every time I walk in the room, I come in with a new label, a new set of rules, a new everything. I was like, it was like just keep opening the egg and taking the little person out and the little person out until finally I got to this part of my life. The compartmentalizing of it and the just the worry and the fear. I think that that's any trans person's biggest fear is that they're going to lose the loved ones they have around them,
Right.
especially if you're a late blooming trans person. I'm so happy for any child that is aware enough to know that that's what they want and they want to pursue. I'm so happy to know that there are children who have parents who are willing to sit down and listen and hear them say, like, I think I'm a boy, or I think I'm a girl, or I think that I don't know what I am. I don't know how to feel. Like that
Yeah.
conversation is so, so powerful because it opens up the opportunity for them to have even more conversations with you, the trust you have, the ability to sit. I remember when I came out to my mom and I did the whole prom thing, I remember my mom sitting with me on the couch and being like, "Are you sure this is what you want to do?" And I was like, "This isn't really a choice." And she's like, "No, that's not what I mean." She's like, "You're already black, you're effeminate, and now you're gonna add the label gay to yourself, and you're gonna walk around, and that's gonna put a target on your back each time." She's like, "You have to be understanding that, like, when you go out, like, there are people who don't like you already because of what you look like in general, and now
Yeah.
you're gonna make yourself a moving target." And I was like, "But I can't live myself." in fear of these people. Like I can't be afraid. I might never meet them. I might see them
Right.
tomorrow, but I can't, I go back to the guy from my high school who was every day came to school wearing his like mesh shirts and his little tank tops and like living his best life. And like, I was like, I can't back down from these people because the second I go and I dress up or I cover up or I do something else, I'm giving them the win. They get
Right.
to live a little bit more comfortably. My my expression or myself, my light should not dim yours. It shouldn't make you feel inferior. It's just my light. It's who I am. And I should be able to take that into any room without any question or fear of who I am or who else is in the room with me.
Right. Yeah, and the only reason why I asked that is because we grew up around the same time period. So for me, there was a person I grew up with, and he was gay, and he was the only male on the cheerleading squad, flamboyant and everything. And I was raised by my mother, short little Filipino lady, old school but little bulldog, and the dude, the individual was Filipino, and I grew up with that person. And I remember I had like friends and homies just used to say stuff and all kinds of stuff, and I used to like check them, like, yo, like, like, why are you doing that? Like, is that bothering you? Like, they don't come to you, they don't talk to you. Like, there's no reason for you to like talk out of their name or whatever the case may be. Just let them live their life. And the individual did, and was just doing their thing, and me personally, growing up with that person, was happy for that individual to be able to express themselves and live the life they wanted to live. So I know I had friends who were just ignorant, and when it came to situations like that. So that's the whole reason why I asked if you had to face any adversities when you first came out and started, or opened it up to as being gay or whatnot.
No, I think the biggest adversity I had to face was myself. I think people I adore people like you who stick up for us because the
Yeah.
reality is that there is nothing that anyone can say to us that we are not saying to ourselves already, that we are
Right.
not in our heads constantly thinking about. I recently had a conversation on a talk show that I do called Common Courtesy, and we talked about that experience because we're, as our own worst critic, we literally stand there and we will tear ourselves apart and put ourselves back together again and tear ourselves apart and put ourselves back together again. And it's not until you start to kind of say, wait, like, why am I talking to myself like this? Like, I would never say this to a family member I love. I would never
Right.
say this to my best friend or to someone that I care about, right? Like, your best friend stubs their toe and you might laugh, but you're gonna be like, are you okay? Is
Of
it broken?
course.
Can you wiggle it? Right?
Right.
Why is it when we stub our toes, we're like, you freaking idiot, you knew that couch was there, you're cursing out the inanimate object, you're telling yourself, like, oh, I do
Yeah.
this ish all the time. Like I'm such a mess, like da da da. Like, you're late for work, you wake up late, everybody goes into a panic mode, right? And we're instantly
Yeah.
telling ourselves that we're the worst person in the world. Like, I do this shit all the time, or why didn't my alarm go off?
Yeah.
You're mad at everybody, or you're worse. You're the person who blames everybody else. The person who you're like, oh, you blew out the power last night. This is your fault, or you did this, the gods hate my ancestors hate me. Like, we say everything else other than the fact to acknowledge the fact that A, we made a mistake, and B, it's okay. It's
Right.
literally natural for people to make mistakes, for people to like slip up or fall up or whatever. So like, I think that people have to realize that we, as our own worst critics, we don't need another person in our head telling us how good or bad we look, or how passable we are, or how flamboyant we are, or whatever. Like, trust me, we know, we are aware. We did not wake up this morning
Of
completely
course.
unaware of
Yeah.
who we are.
Yeah. That's what's up. That's what's up. Snaps. That, that's what's up. Like, I know my first experience, like, dealing with like a homosexual who I didn't understand. I was probably like 7, and my mother, she had a friend, and because we're Filipinos, Filipinos,
Yes,
it's yeah,
family and friends, all the same.
yeah, everywhere. And we had one, and their name was Tita, and I would ask my mom, I was like, how come Tita like wears makeup? Like, what's going on? Like, I was just curious, just a kid, like curious, like, why is Tita wearing makeup? Isn't that for girls? And my mom educated me on this stuff, and how you talk about your mom, and how your mom sounds very wise, just wise as fuck. And it reminds me of my mom, and she just like, kind of like educated me. Well, like, people do and dress and act how they want to act, and all we can do is just accept them. And I mean, as they are, like you're not the one to judge. So I've always taken that little tidbit that my mom told me, and I've applied it to my life. And for you to say like, "Oh, we're our biggest critic," it's, to me, my personal opinion is, because I criticize myself all the time,
Mm-hmm.
especially when I was younger. But as you mature, I'm big on like mental maturity. The As you mature, you start to realize like, oh, I don't need to criticize myself, because like you said, like I don't. This is me. Like I'm doing me. I don't need anybody else to do it. I don't need to criticize anybody else. So I mean, the more you mature and the wiser you get, then you start to realize stuff. So I mean, it sounds like you had a real good upbringing.
Yeah, I was really blessed. I was lucky. My dad was a 9/11 first responder. I grew up with him as a police officer, and then he was a detective. And then my mom is a New York City educator. She was
Nice.
working in the public school system, and then she went to work for the Board of Education. And she was actually like someone who helped teachers when they were in legal situations. She gave them legal advice and helped them as a liaison for the any cases they might be facing within her jurisdiction in her area. So uh, I got to see all sides of it. And my mom also was a special education teacher. So when I grew up, starting off, I was around a lot of different people. I have a big heart for acceptance. I love all people. I don't judge anybody for anything. Disabilities are both handicaps and blessings because they give you something to be absolutely enamored with yourself because you're so much more capable than their disability. You're so much more. I've
Yep.
met so many people who have disabilities who have more degrees than me, who are able to
Yeah.
do way
Yeah.
more than me. I know some people with disabilities that can run further, can jump further, can
Oh
swim better.
yeah.
Like I meet people
Same.
all the time who have things that the world tells you it should stop them from being better, and they will run circles around you in that same instance. So I've been blessed to meet a lot of people in my life that keep me humbled without a shadow of a
Nice.
doubt.
Yeah, nice. You were like a ball of positivity, and I can feel it. It's crazy. I
it,
really, I really fuck with it. I
it wasn't
appreciate
always like this. I promise you, it was a learning experience. It was something
it.
that I had to like really hunker down on. But I have a love for helping, a passion for helping people. I
Same.
like and love to be around people and help them develop and see things. My mom always used to do this thing with me where she always plays the devil's advocate. I would walk in a room and I'd be so sure that I was right, 1000% right. Like, you can't tell me I'm wrong. And she would then like tell me to take myself out of my shoes and put myself in that person's shoes. Now, and she would talk to me as if I was the person. And so she's right, right? And
Right.
I don't,
Yeah.
nobody ever likes that. You don't want to give up being right,
Nope.
right?
Nope.
So you have to wear those shoes. And when you start to wear those shoes and you start to think about how they might feel, what kind of things they're not saying or they're not doing in this situation, what kind of things they're holding back from, what other obstacles could they possibly be facing that would prevent them from doing exactly what you think should be done in this situation. Like, you can't control people, you can only control your own reactions. And I
Right.
think at the end of the day, people have to remember that. Like, you cannot force your ideals on people. You can't think just because, we all watch the horror movie and we tell the girl run left. You know damn well she's not running left, but you still scream it in hopes that she runs left, right? So there's a difference in that moment between telling somebody what you think they should do and truly giving them the best advice in a situation, and having them see the situation for what it is. And if
Right.
you can pick stuff apart like that with somebody, you can really change their mindset on things. I've sat with a lot of people as a as the person that I am, especially over the past couple of years when we had, Donald Trump as president. I went into a lot of rooms as a liberal, as a Democrat, and sat with
Yeah.
Republicans and explained why there's no need to be like facetious, why there's no need to be ridiculous about it. At the end of the
Yep.
day, it's about what you want and what you need, and who you vote for is your business. You could sit here in a red cap all day and go into the booth and vote blue, and vice versa.
Right. Yep.
I had people who I met and I sat with, and they were only voting because that's what their husband voted, or they were only doing this because that's what their family does. They're literally just following the toe, right? They're not
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
looking at it. They're not even attached to the toe, but because the toe is in front of them, they're like, oh, I must do this. And so
Yeah.
then when you sit in a room and you sit at a table and you have an educated conversation without cussing each other out, without and bring your points validly to the table and educate it and are open to hearing the other side, it changes everything.
Yeah.
So I was able, if I was like, if I can navigate this table of sharks, I can navigate any room. There's not a room I can't be in and not be good at, because that's the at the end of the day, that's what it's about. We're on this earth to teach what we know and learn everything we can from everyone. You'll
Right.
never be perfect. You're always growing. You're always learning. Your cap is never full. It's not like eating, right? There's a moment where you're eating and you're like, I can't eat anymore. With knowledge, it is literally uncapped. You can get as much as possible in your brain. Your brain can hold so much more information than you give it credit for. You can
Yeah.
recite the lines to the freaking commercial or your favorite song. You can definitely learn a little bit about what's going on in the world and how your choices can affect the other people around you.
Most definitely. Me and you were right here. Me and you right here. Because I'm in the military. I've been in the military for 18 years,
Oh, I love
and
it. Thank you for your
yeah,
service.
oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. So I've dealt with those similar kind of individuals, like the
Oh, I
old
bet.
heads who are just narrow minded and ignorant.
I
And
got a couple of them in
my
my family too.
oh man, so that philosophy is what I go by on a daily basis, especially to the younger individuals who are in. And whenever there's a situation, I always break it down just like that. Like, okay, well, calm down instead of acting on your impulses and then just blurting it out or acting a certain way. Let's collect yourself and then think about, okay, what happened. So what if you were this individual or whatever, so and so and so and so, woo woo woo. And then when you do that, individuals are really like, oh, you're right. Yeah, I was acting off impulse or whatever, and they start to realize like, okay, maybe I need to start doing that. And I was that individual growing up. Like I was, oh man, like similar to you, I was a hothead. Like you can tell me nothing, but the more mature I got and the older I got, now I'm all about like positivity and actually breaking down and analyzing a situation before reacting to it. It's just I love teaching and helping people just like you. So hearing you say this is just it puts a warm spot in my heart. I
I
enjoy it.
love
I
it.
enjoy it.
Which, by the way, anybody who's watching this, we did not coordinate this. I did not know
No,
that he was
no,
gonna wear red, and I didn't.
no.
It was just a moment. I just was like, because we're so much alike and we're vibing right now, and I'm like,
Yep.
this was not intentional. This was not planned. It just kind of happened.
Whatsoever.
But yeah.
Whatsoever. Yeah, I noticed that too, and I noticed it and I thought about it, but I didn't want to say
Me
anything. But shoot,
too.
see
But
there?
now you said it again, and I'm like, listen, we're on that same mental wavelength, and
Yes,
that's another thing about it
yes,
for sure. But yeah,
that's what's
like I
up.
think you gotta, I don't know, like I did the negative thing, right? And you gotta ask yourself, like, I often in times use this analogy with any one of like my patients or my clients. I'm always like, your emotions are waves, right? You have never in your whole life in any movie, animated, reel, book ever heard of a wave coming and staying. A wave will
Yeah,
never come and stay on the shore, right? So your emotions are like
right.
waves. I tell, especially when I'm dealing with kids, because I love kids, I'm like, your emotions are waves. It's like sometimes the wave will come and it'll touch your toes and it'll tickle you and it'll make you all joyous. And then sometimes when you're not, that wave will come and knock you right on your ass, right? Like just take you
Oh
out.
man.
But the reality is that no matter how hard or soft that wave hits you, it always goes away. It never
Yeah,
stays. So your emotions are the same way. You should not be sitting in your emotions. You should never be sitting in your feelings. You should always let things go because they're not meant to stay. You're meant to be angry at times. You're meant to be sad at times. You're meant to be confused and jealous and envious and all the other joys and elated and excited. Any word I was gonna say a bunch of other words, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't say that. But no, but yes, true. You're meant to feel all these emotions, right? That's why they exist. And so, but you're not meant to live in them. You would no
right,
sooner sit in a diaper full of your own crap than you would want to sit in any emotion. And that goes for ones like grief or sadness. No one ever gets happy in the moment and gets terrified instantly after thinking the happiness is going to go away. Right?
right,
You don't go
right.
on the roller coaster and go over the hump and get excited and then start crying because you no longer can go over the hump, right? If you want
Right.
to feel that excitement again, what do you have to do? You have to finish the
Right
roller
again.
coaster ride and
Yep.
then get back on.
All right.
So it's really the same way with your positive attitude. You can always choose to be positive. I could choose to be negative. I can choose to be mad, but I don't have to choose to be mad and negative. They're not mutually exclusive. So all of your emotions, you should not tether them to a result that you want. I think a
Right.
lot of people have to
Right.
understand. I remember
That's
life
real.
lessons from mom. We're gonna have like hashtag life lessons from mom. No one can make you feel a way you don't want to feel. I remember the first time she said that to me, I was offended. I was furious. I was like, "You're not telling me that I'm choosing to sit here and be upset. I don't want to. Who the hell wants to be upset?" And she's like, "You do, because you're mad you didn't get your way. You're mad that this didn't go how you wanted. That person did this to you. Yada yada yada. At the end of the day, what's done is done. You can't change it. No, you could not undo it in any way, shape, or form. And even if you did manage to undo it, the thought is always in your head that it happened. Think
Yeah.
about that for a minute, right? So
Man.
you are literally choosing to sit in your emotions, to sit in your feelings, to sit in your distrust, to sit in your dislike by choice. No one ever did anything to make you feel that way. No one can make you feel that way. They can act and you can react.
Right.
And even that is like a rubber band snap. My therapist taught me that one. A rubber band snaps once. A rubber band doesn't keep snapping unless you pull it. Stop pulling the fucking rubber band. Just let the shit snap and be done. Like people, and that's what you do every time you replay the memory in your head, or every time you tell
Yeah.
the story. If you're not healing from it, if you're not growing from it, then you're literally choosing to sit in what I like to say, sit in your own shit.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't sit in your own shit,
Man.
people.
Oh my god. That is real though. That is some real vital information.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna use that wave analogy. I like that.
Oh, I
That's
love it.
clean
Please
right
do.
there.
Please do. It's
Yeah.
beautiful and it gives people a visual because you really think about it. And when I talk about it, I usually talk about it in a sense of emotions. And I'm like, realize that your emotions are not real waves. That wave could hit you hard as hell and it will never knock you over. It
Yeah.
can never, I do this with grief all the time because I want people to understand that grief is not something you should fall over and lay on the ground and just give up on. So
Yeah.
if the wave hits you hard, if it hurts, embrace it. Take it, take the hit. It's coming whether you like it or not. And then let it go. Find
Dang, that's
something else that makes you feel good about that. Choose life, choose love, choose happiness. Choose one of the other things that could have come from that situation. I used to get so upset when I broke up with somebody, and you got a song, and then the song come on
oh
the radio,
yeah.
and then I instantly go from doing the Carlton to being Tony Braxton, another sad love song, like or Mariah Carey.
Oh yeah.
Every time you change the radio station, it's another song. It's just somebody else is singing in my ear,
Some
and you
ballad.
yeah, you just want to pull over and cry and shit. Like now I'm like, no, like look at that song and think about that was a really freaking awesome time in your life. At that moment in time, that memory that should be igniting happiness and serotonin in your brain, you are now causing it to cause depression and sadness and all these other little things to go downward.
Right.
Steve Harvey says it best. When you wake up in the morning, there's no such thing as the wrong side of the bed. If you wake up in the morning and you choose to just be angry and upset because whatever happened or whatever didn't go the way you wanted it to, maybe it was a loud noise or the alarm clock went off late, whatever, you say it the first thing, oh, this is going to be a shitty day. Your brain goes up, shitty day mood. So everything is going to piss you off. Everything's going to make you upset. But if you choose to get up and say, today is going to be I challenge anybody to do this for 30 days. Wake up every morning and say, today is going to be a great day. Don't say a good day, an okay day. Say a great day. And, or even if you want to go better and be an amazing day, say something that's like astonishing. Like, say it's going to be magical. Say some shit that you don't never say, right? Say it for 30 days and watch the difference in how your days go. Watch the difference in just how you handle stuff. Like, normally you wake up in the morning, you don't say nothing like that to yourself. You get stuck in traffic, you're gonna be nasty. You get stuck in the road or like walking somebody in front of you in line taking too long, you're gonna get nasty. Somebody bump you, you're gonna be like, yo, watch it, right? If you wake up and say today's gonna be a great day, that's gonna be the day that you're gonna find $1 on the floor. The person at the food place gonna give you some extra nuggets. That you're gonna everything is just gonna it's little by little. You get all these great things because you start to attract and you manifest your happiness in like a physical
Yeah.
form. So you're
Yeah.
literally just a magnet for it and you personify it. And when you start to do that more and more, like people just get it. And you attract people that way. And that's how you attract all the good things you want in life. You can't sit on the bed and say, oh, I wish I had $1 million. Well, what are you going to do for the $1 million, right? Are you going to get up and go
Yeah.
work for $1 million? And then are you going to do a millionaire's worth of work? Or are you going to go do your 995 worth of work? Like, you have a choice. Like you make that a complete and total um experience for yourself. No one else can do that. People can do little things to help you have a little wave of joy on your toes, but they cannot make you happy, nor can they
Right.
make you sad. You
Right.
choose this, you choose that. At the end of the day, it's all about you making the choice.
That's right. And that reminds me of that Will Smith quote. I don't know if you're familiar with the Will Smith quote in regards to Jada, when he's like, it's not my responsibility to make her happy. It's her responsibility. It's my responsibility to just go with her and promote her happiness or whatever the case may be. And that's just a quote that I really enjoy because that it's just real. Like it's not your spouse or your significant other or your brother or whomever's responsibility to make you happy. It's your own responsibility to make yourself happy. And I just that just kind of correlates to what you're saying. That's
Yeah.
great.
Oh, 100%. It's very that. Like you have this choice to do it, right? And then so if you have a partner or spouse who's like, it's like, oh, I want to take a ride. And your spouse is supposed to be like, okay, let's get in the car. Where are we going? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just go. Like it's that's how it should be because you can't go and be like, oh, well, I don't like going to the mountain. Well, that's where it makes my joy is saying I gotta drive to the mountain. So I'm going to get in the car and drive to the mountain. Your job is to do one of two things: either get in the passenger seat and go with me, or say, "Baby, have fun at the mountain. I see you when you get home." Right? That's it. It don't got to
For
be
real.
nothing
For
else.
real.
It don't got to be nothing else. You don't gotta don't be messing around on that mountain, girl. Don't do no. I know
Yeah.
you love the mountain. You got it. You go. You do you. I see you when you get home. Or come on, let me take my butt to this mountain with you so I can see what you've been raving about. You know what I mean? Indulging
Yeah.
it in that way. You don't have to like be negative. You don't got to put your opinion and say, oh, well, I heard 5 people fell off the mountain last week. Bitch, why you got to say that? Why you got to come in and just be, oh, people die all the time on that. Yeah, you think I don't know that? I know that. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die. It's not like I'm going up there to do whatever. Like, be mindful of the people who talk to you like that. If you want a quick, helpful hint on if your friends are really your friends, walk in the room and say, you just got something great just happened, right? If you're the kind of
Yeah.
person who something great always happens to, your friends are gonna be like, again? Oh my God, what is it? Tell me all about it, right? But if you got a low key hater is gonna be like, whoop, hey, oh, here we go again. This
Uh-huh.
here goes the lucky person, whatever. Or they're like, oh, that's
Okay.
nothing. That ain't nothing. So what? You got a raise, or your one upper friends who's like, oh, I got a raise last week too. But
Yeah.
instead of getting nasty about it, y'all should just high five and keep it moving. Like
Right.
that's how you can kind of gauge your relationships with the people you have around you. Because I started doing that. I started cutting people off, and I don't tell you I'm cutting you off. I don't make it a big thing. I don't even delete you from Facebook because I want you to watch my happiness. So I literally just go, okay, and I choose not to call you anymore. I choose not to invite you to the event. If I see you out, I'm 100% cordial. I'm 100% about, if you want to tell me what's going on in your life, I will sit and I will listen because I'm a friendly person. But am I inviting you to my wedding? Probably not. If I go out to lunch and I have a celebration, am I going to invite you? Probably not. I'm not going to put you in that situation because you're going to be the person who's going to rain on my parade, and I
Yeah.
have a choice. The beauty that I think people forget the most is that you have a choice to say no.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have to say
It's
yes
true.
to everybody. You have the power to say no. You can stop any injustice or any violence happening to you simply by saying no. Sometimes we have to say it to ourselves because you want to punch the person in the face who's insulting you, and you
Oh,
be like,
most
you know
definitely.
what?
Oh yeah.
But you tell yourself no,
Hmm.
and you get to walk away. There's something empowering in walking away. I don't know where and walking away became a cowardice thing or it became a shit show, but the reality is like
Yeah.
me walking away from things is my favorite thing because I know that eats you up more than if I stand there and I argue with you.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh, I'm the
will
same way.
skip and laugh
Yeah.
and jump and click my heels on the way out of the door before I turn around and argue with you.
That's good.
Unless you
That's
deserve it,
good.
because some people need a good verbal abuse smackdown, or some
Almost
people just
definitely.
deserve a good physical one too. I just
Oh
try
yeah.
to stay away from the violence. I left New York for a reason. But I mean, but that's not my job. I tell people all the time, it's not my job to give it. If it was my job to give it, then I would give it. But the way I'm set
Yeah.
up right now, you're not gonna disturb my peace. Protect your peace at all costs, people.
And that's good. A lot of people need to have that mindset because it's just that, oh yeah, no, I'm upset. I'm about to give you the business, but at the end of the day, what resulted from the confrontation? Nothing. You're still mad. That person's still mad. Y'all lost y'all's relationship. Nothing was resolved. So it
And you
is
in
better to
physical
walk
pain.
away.
You in mental, spiritual,
Exactly.
and physical pain. It ain't worth it.
Exactly. Not at all. Not at all. So so I have my daughter, my oldest daughter, she's about to be 15 in like a week. On on her soccer team, she has one of her teammates is actually transitioning from female to male.
Okay.
So what do you not for that individual per se, but just people in general who are in that process, what advice would you give to individuals going through that process?
I mean, my initial first knee jerk reaction is to say, dig your heels in and stand your ground always.
Yeah.
Um, in the same essence that no one can make you feel a certain way, no one can tell you how you feel. No one can tell you how you are feeling inside or dealing with things. So if you feel a certain way or if you feel something, then pursue it 100%. I think
Yeah.
in this day and age, I think that there's a lot more leeway where you can choose your path and you don't have to pursue it until the wheels fall off if that isn't what resonates with you, if it isn't what you feel. I wish that when I was growing up somebody would have told me about the difference between my sexuality and my gender and how they're not anywhere on the same playing field. Like as a trans woman, I identify as a heterosexual,
Mhm.
in a way, but because that's my preference. But in reality, if I was going to sit here and really have at it with people, I'm technically bisexual. I have had sex with men and women, and
Yeah.
it's not a thing for me. I'm attracted to both men and women. So you have to kind of look at it from a standpoint of that person's gender doesn't resonate with their sexuality, and their sexuality is nobody's fucking business. Because who they
Right.
sleep with behind closed doors is their business, unless they're
That's
messing
true.
around at like Folsom or something like that and making it public business. That's different. But,
Right.
as a child growing up or as a person in general coming into their own on how they feel, I think I would want to let everybody know, like, literally what I said, like, dig your feet in and stand your ground on how you feel because you should never be scared, afraid, or hesitant to tell people what you're feeling. And
Yeah.
in terms of that, like if you're resonating as a male, or if you're resonating as something, if your attraction is elsewhere, so you might not even have an attraction whatsoever, like to someone else. So it doesn't correlate. They're not like exclusive. Like again,
Mhm.
once again, it's another situation where it's not mutually exclusive. Trans people don't fall under one umbrella. We can fit into anything because our transition is only gender based.
Yeah.
It is only gender based. It is only about where you want to go. And right now, with non binary coming into the fold, non binary is something that's completely out of that, but right there with it. Non binary actually has a transitional letter on licenses in certain states in the US. You can get an X put on there instead of an F or an M to suggest that you're
Wow.
non binary. I believe one state did NB and one state did X, is from what my knowledge is, but the
Hmm.
fact that they're acknowledging that and addressing that is a huge notion that it's about gender. Like for me, one of the biggest moments in my life was getting my name changed legally and getting my F on my license. Like my license picture is fire. I would show it if it wouldn't give up all my information, but like
I mean, you
it's
can cover the
fire.
info.
It's yeah, it's like it's gorgeous, and so I love it and I was happy. It was a big moment for me. So I know other people out there having that moment is like that, but that doesn't make me any more gay or any more lesbian or any more of those other things. That simply is just where my transition is going, and I don't have any plans to stay in limbo. I want to finish my transition and have like my full surgeries and things like that and
Yeah.
be who I want to be, and I'm not on anybody else's time but my own and God's. That's it.
Yeah.
Like
That's true. That's
whatever
true.
whatever is meant to be will be in if you're not a God follower in the universe's timing. The universe
Yeah.
has it set out for you already. Your job is to get it done. And so
Yeah.
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen through the actions you take. And so the same when it comes to transitioning, it's super important that people understand that. Like you can't force anybody to do it. Like they can't just go get their chest done today. They can't just go get a BBL. They can't just go get their name changed. There's a process to everything and everything takes its time and it's not your journey. You kind of have
Right.
to learn how to be not a passenger seat driver, but a backseat driver. It's like being on a bus when it comes to somebody else's transition. You can't choose the route. You can't choose the music on the radio. You can't,
Just go
all
for the
you can do
ride.
is sit in the seat and ride and be there with
Yeah.
them through all the stops. That's it. And it's the same thing with your life, because you don't have anybody in the seat saying, "Oh, if you want to get more girls, you got to dress like this, and you got to spend your money
Yeah.
like this, and you got to go to the gym and work out." That's not true. If that was the
Yeah.
case, there'd be a lot of single people in the world who ain't getting nothing. I got friends who
Yeah.
go from all shapes and sizes who are doing well better in the relationship category than I am. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think people have to remember that. Like, don't ask somebody to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. Don't force
True.
your ideology onto somebody in that same aspect. Like, allow them
Yeah.
to do their journey and just be supportive. And to anybody who's in that situation, once again, be mindful of the people around you and how they're talking to you. You know,
Yeah.
also be your own best friend. Don't
Right
wait
on.
for nobody to celebrate shit. Be your own best friend. Having 5 people with you at the movie theater is not better than going to the movie theater and seeing the movie you want, when you want, how you want. Don't wait. Like, you do not need to celebrate with nobody. Celebrate all your small victories and your big victories the same. If you want to throw a little party, I go to Applebee's and get me one of them little cookies and ice cream any day of the week, and just have my little celebration, or for my little successes, the same way I would go buy myself a cake for my birthday, or for like a huge accomplishment with work or something like that. Like, it's all valid, and people shouldn't deter you from that either. But I know a lot of times I wasted a lot of time in my life waiting for people to come celebrate with me, waiting for people to cheer me on,
Yeah.
waiting for people to do something. Their opinions don't mean shit in your life, I'll be honest. It's the only opinion that matters is your own. Because
Of
it's the one
course.
that you're going to wake up to
Yeah.
every morning, and it's the one that you're going to go to bed to every night.
Yeah. And that's real right there. You heard it. You heard it here. Netflix the only one who goes to Applebee's. So
I do Chili's too. Like, no. I love to eat out. I do. I go wherever.
But I'm glad you brought that up, because people do not think of that, like how they differentiate from gender and sexuality. Like, sitting here, me personally sitting here thinking about it was like, that is such a true statement, because I personally didn't differentiate the two. So that's crazy. I'm glad you covered that. That's just, man, you're so wise. So
I've been
that's what's
through
up.
enough. I've been through enough.
Nice. So
And it's
you hear
something.
it.
No,
No, go
go
ahead. Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. No,
Oh no, I
you
was just
got it.
saying it's something that I've had to educate myself on, like through my degree, and then also just in my community. Like, there's so many people that you meet and they say something and they're like, "I don't have to do that," and I'm like, "You're absolutely right. Shit, I didn't think about it that way." I was like, I had to get shut up a few times for me to catch that one. I was like, so I let people know, and especially in reference to transitioning or just gender in general, like, it's not the same. And people tend to put them
Yeah.
in a bubble and then get confused
Yeah.
when it doesn't work out. That's why.
Damn. That's what's up. So now let's talk about your business.
Okay.
So I seen you had posted something in your story. It was like a lightweight bio of just, each slide was
Yes.
describing you as an individual, which was very good, by the way. I watched the
Reintroducing
whole thing.
myself.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yep.
thank you. So you
And
got to see me
so
dance. You got to see me do a flip in
oh
heels. Like,
yeah, I watched it all. Yeah, I watched it all. So go over your business and what exactly it is per se.
yeah. So I work with a network marketing company called Money or Modern Nature. I've been with them for a year and a half, and I started with this business just to find something to like circumvent my overtime. I was in school for my master's, and Um, I was working crazy hours in the hospital in a mental health facility. The pandemic hit, and I went from being a PRN, which is like somebody who only works 12 hours a week, to being full time. And then I went from full time to working 60, 70 hours a week. And it
Ooh,
happened all really quickly. Like, I got the job in January, February, I was full time. By March, I was working 60 hours minimum.
ooh,
And so it really just, I did it for a while, and I loved the money, because like anybody else, when you're making overtime like that, it's fire, and you're not thinking about what it's doing to your body or your mental health. And
right.
so around probably 9 months of doing that, I was just like, you know what, this is not for me, I need something else. I saw my homegirl, she was working from home, she was in this marketing business, and she was selling shampoo, and I was like, oh girl, tell me about it. I was like, I'm always in the market for a new shampoo. Person of color, I was like, I've done a lot of different things to my hair. I was like, I
Yeah.
really am always looking for something, the next best thing, right? So she got on to me and she kind of was telling me about it, and I kind of heard about the business, but I didn't really know if that's what I wanted to get back into because I had done network marketing before. I had worked for like Avon and these other companies and never
Yeah.
really benefited from it. So with this one, I kind of saw another girl with hair like mine, curly hair, kinky, coily, curly hair. And I saw her curls just being fire. And I was like, oh, girl, I'm in. Like, tell me about the business. Tell me how I get these products. I was like, if nothing else, I have fire hair. And so I joined the business, not really thinking anything of it. And in my head, I kind of told myself, I was like, oh, you'll do this. You'll circumvent your overtime and you won't have to work so hard. And so that's what I did. And literally within the first week of working the business, I made a lot of money. And I was like, you know what? Let me just keep doing this. And when I started it, it was just to help people. I loved the
Yeah.
product. It worked on my hair. My curls started to flourish. My hair felt soft. It was like I was in love. I was enamored. I was like, oh my God, this is it. I've been doing all these different hair creams and oils and doing egg yolk and avocado mask and all this other stuff, trying to get my hair to look nice. And I couldn't do it. And this product came in, and in one wash, I was like, oh, I was in love. And so after using the products for 3 months, I was using the skincare and the hair care. And I just really was all in on it. And I started to gain recognition in the company uh, as a seller and as somebody who has like who's doing well. And when you're doing well, they ask you to come train the other people. They're like, hey, will you come train our teams? Will you come show us what you're
Yeah.
doing so that we can help them have your kind of success? And so
Right.
I initially just went in being like, oh, y'all want me to talk? Like, I don't know if I could tell y'all. I was like, I could tell you what I'm doing, but I'm not doing anything like crazy. So I went in and I started teaching people about this business. And of course, very much like this conversation, I dropping nuggets, little motivational tips, little quotes here and there, little things that I use every day to keep me in a good space. And they're like, "Oh my God, like we need you to come do this. Like you don't talk about the product, just come motivate people. Just come talk to my team. Talk to my team of like
Yeah.
25 people." And then next thing you know, I was in a room of like 150, and then the next thing you know, it was a Zoom of 500 people. And I was like, oh my God, like y'all really like what I'm saying? Like I was like, I'm valued, I'm cherished, like y'all really want me. Like, and so it just became this big thing. And then so of course, in the business, I have my own team of people that I work with. I'm nobody's boss, but I work with everybody. So I just help
Yeah.
cultivate good culture, positive energy, and I help people kind of get over that like new job hump. Anytime you go and you get a new job in the first 90 days, you kind of like, you don't really know anybody. You don't have that many friends. You're
Yeah.
kind of like,
Yeah.
you're learning the business. You're trying not to F up. And every time you F up, you're worried somebody's going to come yell at you. And even when they
Yeah.
don't come yell at you, you still feel like you're yelling at you because like
Yeah.
you're fucking up their business. Like with this, there's none of that.
Okay.
There's nobody on my shoulder worried about like how I'm having the conversations, how much product I'm pushing, like if I'm talking about the business to other people, like that weight being off my shoulders just allowed me to like really, really oh sorry.
No, you're fine.
Hold on, he's already- what are you doing? Oh, Matt, come in. He's not here, guys. He's out with his family right now. Matt, come on. No, when the white car comes back with my guys. Like, the boys next door. Sorry. I'm gonna have to throw open for him because he's like bugging out. He's waiting for everybody to come home. He's like wilding out right now. But yeah, where was I? Sorry. I know how this works. I know how Riverside works. I know you can edit that all out. I know that whole gap will be gone.
I'm gonna let it ride. I'm gonna let it ride.
Hi everybody. My bad. Where was I?
No, you're fine.
I totally lost my train of thought though. Where was I? What were we talking about?
So we were talking about when you're in a new workplace and you feel like somebody's talking down to you, even though you didn't mess up.
Right. I was
How
saying
you
like we don't
feel?
experience that here. Yeah. Like so in this business, like
Yeah.
you don't go through that. Like there's no quotas or red flags. No one's gonna fire you if you don't do something, if something else comes up kind of deal. And you work at your own pace. So it's been like a really big blessing to me because when I got into this business, my dad was very close to passing away from cancer. And
Oh,
I got to
sorry.
spend time with him and be with my family and work from home. And so it became a twofold kind of helping system for me. Not only am I helping people with their hair and skin and getting them back to feeling confident, IE, which is why that's my IG name, the Confidence Builder, because I help people feel confident about themselves, both inside and out. No, but I was also mentoring women in this business, and I was getting women who had been in the business for 3, 4, 5 years coming to me, asking me for my advice. Imagine that, a
Yeah,
black trans woman
that's crazy.
coming into the business, only having been in the business for 3 months, and I have people who have been in it for years coming and saying, "Oh my God, the advice you gave me helped me grow my business. Oh my God, the advice you gave me really helped me in my personal life. It really resonated. I was feeling the same way. I was going through the same thing." Like, so it was so dope to have that and to be able to have that. So I took the platform and I pushed it further, and was like, I have this ability to help people on another level. So as like a life coach or being like and then I graduated this past December and I was able to be like a therapist. I can be a counselor now. So now I'm a
Nice.
full-fledged on that road. And I'm like, this is so great because this one little business changed my whole life. And for the past year and a
Awesome.
half, it's allowed me to dive deeper into my personal happiness and my personal light of positivity. And it gives me a constant reminder of like, I'm valued. I'm 100% valued. I matter on another level now that I had never mattered before. It's different when you're talking to your best friend giving advice, or you're talking to your parents, or somebody, and you're
Of
having a
course.
coffee. But in this matter, I have this opportunity to really change and touch people's lives. So now I'm leaving a legacy inside of a company that is 100% behind me. They support me and my transition and everything about me. They don't shy away from me doing shows or doing any of those other things. They encourage me to be who I am and still make money. So I'm like, you can't get better than that.
Of course. Nice. Nice. Well, I'm happy for you. I'm glad everything worked out for you and in that aspect. I really am.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
talk about the entertainment aspect of what you do.
Oh, wow. So for those of you who have not heard or didn't catch on yet, I do drag and I do entertainment, I do shows. I perform, modestly saying I like to twirl. Like it's a fun thing that I've been doing since I was 18 years old and I was in Pittsburgh. I started it working for a club called Pegasus Lounge, and it was just a hobby. It was something fun to do. I was in school and I saw a show and I saw three women come on stage, each do a different type of song. Some did like more theatrical, some did more dancey, some did more like music video. But at the end of it, I'm looking and I'm like, I could do that. I've been a dancer my whole life. I love dancing. I'm like, I could make money dancing. I was like, I could dance
Yeah.
circles around these women. I could do the thing. I could do some tricks. I could do some splits. I was like, I got all kinds of stuff I could put there from my cheer career. I could really make this money. And I was like, I'm a broke college student. I'm like, of course I'm gonna go do it.
Yep.
So I went and I did it, and I went in and they had me do this pageant. It's like a very much like your everyday pageant. They've got
Hmm.
like three categories, and you go and you do it. And I went and I was like, oh, I'm gonna win this. I'm gonna slay this. I'm gonna like just knock this out the park. And freaking I ended up I won talent and lost the pageant
Oh.
completely. I was completely lost it. 1 second.
No worries.
They went out. Max just they came home in the dog. Yeah, so same thing I just went through. They're going through. Um, but yeah, so I did that and I lost the pageant. But everybody said it was wonderful, and they said you should keep working on it. You should keep entertaining. And I had no idea. If you would have told me that I would have a career as an entertainer traveling all over the US and to some other countries, um, dancing and pretending to sing for a living, I would have laughed at you. I would have said impossible, not me. I was like, what are we, Broadway? Like, what's going on? Like, I can't. I was like, and I can't carry a tune for my life. So trust and believe when I say like this as a potential option for making an income. I survived off of being an entertainer for literally almost a decade. I did nothing
Wow.
but just pack my suitcase and travel from state to state, from city to city, car, flight, cruise, whatever, and just I got to entertain and I loved it, and it's just become a passion for me. I thought to myself, I didn't think I would ever become a choreographer. I didn't think I would ever become like a backup dancer for anybody. I didn't have the technical training that I wish I had. And so I just saw this as an opportunity to pave my own way. And I had no idea it was going to turn into what it did. And I'm so thankful that it did. I'm so thankful I took the shot because I've met some incredibly amazing people throughout my life and on the
Nice.
road and off the road because of it. So
Nice. I know my wife. We lived in Key West for 3 years, and she used to go to the shows all the time. And she would come home like, "Oh, it was amazing. I love it. I love it." And so, where do you reside right now? Like, where do you
I'm
live?
currently
Tampa.
in Tampa, Florida, in the Tampa, Florida area. I
Okay.
live in Hudson, which is a little bit north of there, but pretty much Tampa's
Okay.
my home. If I'm not in Tampa, I'm in Clearwater. That's kind of like my like
Yeah. Yeah.
trifecta. I like literally am in one of those two. I might dabble down in
Okay.
St. Pete a little bit, but you can always catch me. I just took a position as a show director working for a place called Show Bar in Ybor City in Tampa.
Yeah.
And it's really awesome. I do their entire Sunday brunch. It's really fun. So if you're in the
Nice.
area, you ever want to come see me, please do come. It's every single Sunday. We never skip a beat, and it's been an absolute blast.
Nice. Yeah, I'm familiar with. So I'm from California, but I'm a Floridian. My wife is from Panama City,
Oh, love
and I've
it.
been all over. Yeah, I've been all over Florida. So you said I seen the location you had put was Ybor, and I was like, oh, she's down there in the old Tampa area. I'm
Yeah.
familiar with Ybor and and all that stuff. So
And all
that's
its
what's up.
glory days. Thankfully, it's a really great place to be these days. They've
Yeah.
really done a good job at revamping it and keeping it like protected, we'll say. Just
Good.
because it's the chickens are still running around. Please do not
Yeah.
harm the chickens if you ever come here. It's a felony offense. I think if I'm not mistaken, it's like literally you'll go to jail and you'll get a fine. But they're still here. They're protected, and it's been great. Some of the places are no longer around. I don't know if you heard about the big fire with where is it? Not Armature. There was a place on the corner right across from the 7-Eleven. It used to be a huge like dance floor place, but it burned down unfortunately a little while back.
Oh wow.
And then a couple other places
Hmm.
like the Kennedy and stuff all closed down after the pandemic.
Yeah, pandemic killed a lot of businesses, which is
Yeah.
crazy. So, but I've held you for almost an hour and a half now. So I know you got
It's been
business to
fun. I
take
didn't even
care of and all
realize.
that.
It's been so
Yeah,
fun.
me either. Yeah, I had a great time, and I'm truly honored you took the time to hang out with me. Before we go, I want you to plug yourself, plug anything you got going on, upcoming events, whatever. The floor is yours.
Oh, well, if you guys are in the area, we have Tampa Pride coming up here the weekend of the 26th and the 27th of March here in Tampa, Florida. It's going to be held in Ybor City. The parade is on Saturday, and all the fun and festivities happen on Sunday as well. So it's good to be here the entire weekend. And then on top of that, if you guys are ever interested in natural based or vegan hair care, skincare, and or wellness, hit me up. I am on Instagram as DNCN Diva, Dancing Diva. You can hit me up and I'll have you fill out a little quiz and we'll talk about what goals you have or what concerns you have for your hair, skin, and wellness, and we'll get you hooked up. And then outside of that, just always be on the lookout for me. I travel all over the world. I just got back from LA and Hawaii, and I'm going back soon. I'll be in Vegas next month, so definitely keep on the lookout for me,
Nice,
and I'll probably be coming to a city near you soon.
nice. Well, Leslie, thank you for your time, and it was a pleasure. It was had so much fun. I I smile a lot, so my cheeks my
I
cheeks
love it.
are
I love it. Same, same. I feel them.
definitely
They're a
definitely.
little sensitive right now, but it's
Well,
good.
you
You were
just
amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so
of
glad
course.
this the most random slide into a DM ever that turned out to be like one of the best experiences ever. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm sorry for keeping you on hold for a little bit, but I was a little
No,
hesitant. I was
no,
like,
it's all
had
right.
to make
It's all right.
sure that your credentials checked out, but you are freaking awesome. Thank you so much for
Well,
having me.
well,
And
thank you,
I'm so
thank you,
happy to have been here and have this conversation with you. Please feel
thank
free
you.
to invite me back anytime. I'd love to come back and talk more.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. We're gonna be buddies. We're gonna be buddies.
Yes,
Most
deal.
definitely.
Done.
Most definitely. So I want to give a shout out to Gia Banks first because that's how I was introduced to you
No
through Gia
kidding.
Banks's
Oh my
profile.
gosh.
Yeah,
Lead with
yeah,
that next time. Oh my God. Just lead with that. I had
yeah.
no idea.
Well, I've been trying to get Gia on the show, but keeps giving me the runaround. So
I'm a getter. I'll
uh,
get her for you.
thank you.
I'll get her. I got it. I'll
All
reel her
right.
in.
Well, Angelique Young, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate you for being a guest on the show. I hope you have a good rest of your evening, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you so much. Mwah, I appreciate you. This was a blast.
And there you have it, folks. That was episode 30 with my special guest, Ronnie Angelique Young. I hope you gained a lot of knowledge, because I know I did. You know, she like I said in the intro, she dropped a lot of gems, and she really, you know, kind of educated us on the whole transgender, I ain't even gonna say genre, lifestyle, because like I said, and especially I really enjoyed when she broke down the difference of sexuality and gender, because people don't think about that. So I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you want to follow Angelique, you can follow her on Instagram at DNCNDiva on Instagram, and as always, follow me on Instagram at That Podcast. Watch the videos on YouTube at youtube.com/West Coast Rob. Follow me on Twitter at WestCoast_Rob. And, you know, just stay tuned, man. Stay tuned. I appreciate the support as always. And thank you for the support. Until the next episode, it's the homie West Coast Rob signing off. Yeah, that.